Mascots, the spirit of a company, sports team, or even a country, embodied in a fictional character. From Uncle Sam for the USA to silly old Ronald McDonald for McDonald's, who definitely didn't give me any nightmares as a kid. Anyway, mascots are everywhere, and they're just as prevalent in the world of video games. And I bet the biggest video game mascot of all time came into your head. The famous Italian. Pizza Pasta from Punch-Out. Oh yeah, and there's Mario too. Mario catapulted Nintendo into the mainstream and resurrected the burning corpse that was the video game industry in the early 1980s. But what if I told you that even after the creation of Mario, Nintendo created several failed mascots that are all but forgotten today? This is Discun. He was the mascot for the Japanese exclusive Famicom Disk System add-on released in 1986, and yeah, one of Nintendo's old mascots was a walking, talking Cheez-It. And he appeared on the corners of packaging to denote compatibility with the peripheral. Discun's yellow, square design matches the game discs, with the soft puzzle piece edges and crossed out eyes, helping him look unique and kind of cute actually. Here he is, pictured dressing up as a variety of Nintendo characters within a catalog detailing available games for the disc writing service. Eventually, the guy even started a game of his own, with Famimaga Disc Volume 6 Jenkin Disc Joe, releasing in December of 1992 as the final game for the platform, a whole 2 years into the life of the Super Famicom, or the Super Nintendo in the United States. Jenkin Disc Joe is a puzzle RPG with very little information available due to its obscurity as the final game for a failed Japanese-only peripheral. From what I can understand, Discun traverses dungeons, lining up color blocks with rock, paper, and scissor symbols to make them appear, all the while dodging monsters and obtaining treasure. Aside from this, he cameos in a handful of other games for the system, such as Smash Ping Pong and Nakayama Miho no Tokime High School.
私と恋愛物語作らない？ファミコンゲーム中山美穂のときめきハイスクール。ゲームの途中で電話番号。
Since then, the little guy hasn't been totally forgotten, with appearances as a Smash Melee Trophy and Smash Ultimate Spirit, along with cameos in WarioWare minigames and even a hat in 3DS Street Pass Mii Plaza. He even technically made another playable appearance as a mystery mushroom in Mario Maker. His most recent appearance was yet another cameo in the background of the Mario movie, further relegating the poor disc to cameos. Unfortunately, I find it unlikely for Discun to really return outside of cameos like these, as his only purpose was to represent a failed add-on utilizing what is now pretty old technology nobody uses anymore. Still, the disc has die-hard fans, from message boards that compile all of his appearances to discussions on what his Smash moveset would even look like. I mean, listen, if a character like Mr. Game & Watch can get a Smash moveset, I'm sure it's not too hard to imagine something for Discun. Yeah, something like that about. At the very least, Discun will remain as an interesting piece of trivia and one of Nintendo's retired mascots. Where Discun is somewhat recognizable by avid Nintendo fans, the following are the most obscure mascots in this video. Karabo and Satebo were mascots for the 1995 Satellaview add-on for the Super Famicom. I'm noticing a little pattern here. They prominently featured in the pack-in game for the add-on titled BS-X, the town whose name was stolen. The device would attach to the bottom of the Super Famicom and allow it to connect to the internet and download exclusive games, magazines, and audio tracks. Fittingly, Karabo has a satellite dish on his head, with Satebo floating and taking the shape of a satellite himself. I think they're going to give Duck Hunt a run for their money in Smash. The characters' colors also match those of the Super Famicom buttons, with Satebo being red and yellow, and Bravo being faint green and blue. Bravo and Satebo were mostly relegated to the menus, allowing access to internet downloads. In these menus, the player would navigate Satebo's face screen, deciding whether to download data from the internet and clear or load data from the cartridge, while Bravo would act as the cursor. This cleverly represents the connection between a satellite dish and a satellite, as Bravo is connecting to and drawing data from Satebo. That's about it for these two. Additionally, there was a downloadable RPG game for the service called Satella Walker, with the two receiving status as pseudo party members and even voice acting, but details and audio of each were very scarce. This goes for the majority of the Satellaview downloadable library. The only way to access this content today through saving it on low storage memory packs that were plugged into cartridges. Much Satellaview content is stuck in limbo, either completely lost or hanging on in abandoned 30-year-old cartridges. Some games have been dumped online, but the archived works are far from the complete collection of Satellaview games. In the years since, the Satellaview service itself was referenced in a Mario Odyssey costume, matching an old promotional image, but the characters themselves haven't seen any representation. Not a Smash trophy or spirit. However, unlike Discun, I can see a world where these two make a comeback of some kind. If Nintendo were to finally embrace online games, I think Bravo and Satebo could work as cute little mascots for a revamped online service. Still, Bravo and Satebo remain even more obscure than Discun as one of Nintendo's forgotten mascots. The next mascot is yet another headliner for a failed add-on, the N64 disk drive. Now, the disk drive is much more ambitious than the Satellaview, as many N64 games such as Ocarina of Time and the cancelled sequel to Super Mario 64, they were planned to be on it at one point. For the peripheral's 1999 launch, Doshin the Giant was the mascot and namesake for the premier launch title.
And no, that isn't Doshin's 6mm monster you're seeing right there. That's actually his Audi belly button. Yeah, I know, great design choice.
At Space World 1999, a giant inflatable Doshin loomed over everybody there, almost like it was the second coming of Jesus Christ. The simple design from Japanese game designer Kazutoshi Ida of a lanky but simple yellow giant makes the character memorable. The basic face and little tuft of hair created a featureless but appealing and iconic design, and also probably made him much easier on a console like the Nintendo 64. In the game, a giant rises from the sea each morning to interact with the villagers on an island. You walk around as Doshin and choose to help or harm the villagers by using his abilities. Being a giant, Doshin can jump to level the ground or lift trees and heavy objects to help clear space for the villagers. On the other hand, you can create holes or disturb the natural terrain or displace the objects of the villagers and their buildings, which angers them. If you help the villagers, they build lovely monuments for you, and Doshin grows larger until the next day. If you hurt the villagers, however, they build hate monuments for you. In response to this, Doshin can transform into his alter ego at will, Joshin the Giant. Yeah, this kind of looks like if somebody on Tumblr tried to draw the dark and twisted version of Doshin, but they just came up with this.
The game released alongside the add-on on December 1st, 1999. Reception of the game was fairly good, leading to a sequel/expansion titled Doshin the Giant Tinkling Toddler Liberation Front Assemble. Jesus Christ. This monstrosity of a title released soon after in May of 2000. The game depicts a boy transported to a world of dreams, where he must free a Doshin trapped in a cage by way of tinkling hearts on him. and making him grow. Believe it or not, the game where you play as a little toddler pissing hearts on Doshin didn't sell all that well. And despite the first Doshin game representing a strong start, the franchise was not good enough to save the disc drive. Multiple factors such as its late release roughly 2 years before the GameCube and only 10 games ever releasing for the add-on continue the trend of obscure mascots dying with their failed add-ons. Thankfully, Doshin the Giant was eventually re-released in 2002 for the GameCube in Japan and PAL regions, helping it peak as the #1 best-selling game for a time in Japan and spawning a cult following. Unfortunately, this was the last release in the franchise, and the Giant never reached American shores, outside of 2 Smash Bros. Melee trophies titled Love Giant and Hate Giant for Doshin and Joshin respectively. On the bright side, out of the 3 mascots depicted in this video, I think Doshin has the best chance for a return in a limited form. Now, the creator of the franchise, Kazutoshi Ida, famously had a self-imposed rule that he would only create 3 original titles, with the third being Doshin. Therefore, I think a new title is out of the question, but I do see the possibility of Doshin being re-released through some sort of Nintendo Switch Online expansion, with potentially the English PAL ROM of the GameCube version being made available to Americans. Overall, I find Doshin the Giant to be the most interesting out of these mascots, and it's impossible not to love the yellow guy with his dong out. Well, that's about it for Nintendo's Forgotten Mascots, but seriously, thank you for watching. This is the first video on this new channel where we plan to document and talk about obscure facts and details from throughout video game history. Any feedback would be extremely helpful as we figure out our footing on this website. So please, comment on what you liked and what you didn't like. Additionally, if there's any information you think we should have added or any incorrect information that we did include, please let us know. For our next video on obscure video game statues from around the world. And, as always, stay fresh.